Big problems on the M25 again today. Insulate Britain, they did have an injunction against them, telling them that they could not go onto the motorway to block it. They have decided to ignore that this morning, and as a result, 52 people are there. They are systematically being arrested by the police as we speak. Craig Scudder represents Insulate Britain, joins us now. Hello to you, Mr. Scudder. Thanks for joining us. You were told not to do this. Why have you?
Hi, Kay. Thanks for having me on. Well, we were told that if we went back on the M25, we would be arrested. We would face losing our savings, having our homes taken away, and possibly spending years in prison. But we're on the right side of this argument. Priti Patel, I have a message for you that we are going nowhere. There is going to be wave after wave of protesters willing to spend time in prison and possibly lose their savings, because this is an issue that is not going away. We love our children and we know our responsibilities. And if you won't stand up and do the right thing, then we will.
Who says you're on the right side of the argument?
Well, every scientist, really, Kay. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with the IPCC's most recent report, which says that this is the biggest threat that humanity has ever faced. And our own Climate Change Committee, in their last report, said the government are going to miss their own targets by 80%. Now, every morning when I wake up, I think I'm in the upside down world. What is going on that only 1,000 hardened activists are fighting against this? Everyone in the country's future is at stake. Everybody should be with us on this, the media especially. You do not treat the symptom, you treat the disease. The disease here is government inaction, Kay.
I wonder why the Labour Party aren't supporting you.
I would say that all political parties are probably wary of upsetting the status quo. When this tips and we have more than 51% support, everyone will be on side. But we're relaxed. The only people that we feel a responsibility to are the future generations, and we are listening to the science.
I'm not quite sure. Explain that to me. You think that Labour are not supporting you because what?
It's probably not a popular enough issue. You know what politicians are like.
Why is it not a popular enough issue if it's something that is going to affect every home, more or less?
Well, I think humanity as a whole has a bit of a struggle dealing with slow-moving issues. But the biggest problem we face here, Kay, unfortunately, is the media. You know, and yourselves being a part of that. I think I saw last week that cake is mentioned 10 times more on the TV than climate change. I mean, what is that about? How can this be the biggest threat that humanity's ever faced on the one hand and get so little coverage on the other? You know, the media's job is to hold the government's feet to the fire, and you're just not doing it. It should be on the news every day that they're missing target after target. The Climate Change Committee have said that they've only got good policy on 2 of the 21 areas. You know, we're asking for a very simple thing here. This is a tap-in for the government. We're not asking people to give anything up. We've got a plan that will pay for itself over the next 20 years. It will create 300,000 to 500,000 new quality jobs all over the country. Boris wants to level up. This will level up. It's the cheapest way, bar none, of cutting our CO2 emissions. It will stop 100 deaths from fuel poverty every day this winter. 100. We're the 6th richest country in the world. That's not acceptable, Kay.
I suppose some people think that they can make their point just as efficiently without sitting in front of a car on the motorway.
Well, history suggests otherwise, doesn't it? You know, different environmental groups and NGOs have been campaigning and lobbying for the last 20, 30 years on this and other issues and got nowhere. We know, unfortunately, that what works is direct action, disruptive action, from the Gilets jaunes in France to the fuel protests here 20 years ago to voting rights. This works.
Do you honestly think that blocking the M25 is actually going to be more efficient and effective than, say, COP26 in November?
History suggests it will be. We're very comfortable with what we're doing. I'm not saying we're not going to be at COP, but what we need is more support from the public. You know, if 30% of people
get more support from the public by blocking them trying to get to work, are you, at the end of a pandemic when they're struggling to feed their kids?
Sorry, I nearly cut into you there, Kay. I apologise. Well, I think with the media reporting this properly, we would get more support from the public. You know, if you think that being inconvenienced now, and we do agree any inconvenience we cause, but we just want the government to act. But if you think 2 or 3 hours of inconvenience in a traffic jam is the end of the world, in the next 20 years, society is going to break down. We import half our food. That gig will be over when countries can't feed themselves. We are more at risk from climate change than pretty much any other country on the planet. There is going to be no law and order. People won't be going to work because there won't be jobs to go to. You know, this is the most important thing that humanity's ever faced. And we're being treated as if we're the baddies in this. We're not. We're the smoke alarm in this case.
Well, you are breaking the law, though, so you sort of are the baddies, aren't you?
Needs must.
Good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us on the programme. I'm sure my viewers will make up their own minds. More protests on the M25, and we're hearing that those are going to continue for the foreseeable future. Let me take you to, there you go, live pictures. 52 people being arrested as we speak, junction 14 of the M25 in West London. Let me take you to La Palma. There